So I came to the Pearl, I think like 9 or 10 months ago, and I've, had like this profound experience recently, and I wanted to share it with you. So I wrote this yesterday, and I'm just gonna read it and try to make it as good as I can. But here it is. I want to tell you my story of how I discovered God. I am not your churchgoer since I was young, so I need evidence in my life to verify his existence to me, and here is my story. I'm scared and nervous that you'll find out who I really am, that half the time I've seen you, I've been high or coming off of something. Would you accept me then, or would you cast a stone at me? Would you see me as an equal or value me equally? This is what it was like to live in my shoes as a high-achieving addict. My addiction started when I was 5. By the age of 16, I was 260 pounds. That's 120 kilograms. And I discovered weed. Looking back at it, I traded one obsession for another. And from that point on, it hopped gradually to harder and harder substances until there were none left. So why not just stop, if only it were that easy? Ever since I can remember, I had always had a feeling of restlessness, discontent, and irritability. I would be over here and want to be over there. I had a feeling I had to go, that something was wrong, an anxiety in the moment, and I couldn't stop it. With drugs, these emotions would quiet, and I could proceed with life as usual, accomplishing all the normal activities to allow me to progress through life, an education, friends, family, jobs, a future, until the feelings came back and I would need some more. It was fun for a while. It was really fun for a very long time. And very quickly, it became not fun. Well, I guess I just said the different things, but you can see where this is heading. Not a good place. I would have sleepless nights, lying awake in bed, vowing and believing that I would never do this again. This is the last time I would let it happen. I could see that this was affecting my life. I was beginning to isolate myself more from my friends and family. I could see I was beginning to hurt them unintentionally. I can't pull them into this. It hurts to watch. Tomorrow will be different. The next day would come, and somehow I am there, lying awake in bed, thinking the same thing. It had once again gotten the best of me. I'm defeated. It's time to accept it as who I am and work with it. This would happen over and over again for the course of the next decade, on and off, with periods of brief sobriety, which served as false hope. So here we are in church, and I'm speaking to you about it. So how did I get here on the other side? What's the solution to 16 plus years of addiction? And the answer comes in two parts. One is in God, and the second one is in fellowship. It makes sense that the same wisdom that got me into this mess couldn't get me out of it, that something greater than myself would be the answer. One problem is that I just didn't believe it. I wanted to. So the story goes something like this, and it takes place about 9 to 10 months ago, the pattern of God showing up in my life. On the 14th night of staying awake until 7 a.m. in the morning, playing music, I heard a voice, "You can't do this, otherwise you will die." And I'm thinking in my head, what a party downer. It's a complete downer to be dying at party. So I said, what's this? I've never thought this before. Maybe I should pay attention to it. A few days later, I'm having lunch with my friend Josh, who is a friend of the Pearl, at Sababa, and somehow Christianity gets brought up. He tells me I should go to church. Well, I can't because I don't speak Chinese, I tell him. Well, there are English-speaking ones. Well, I don't want to travel. This one's across the street from where you live. Well, I can't go because it's on Sundays and I play lacrosse from 1 to 4. Well, this one actually starts at 5. I'm like, come on, cut me a break, you know? And I have a friend who's a musician there, Victor, and I think you would like him. I'll put you in touch with him. I'm like, I guess, you know, sign me up then. I'm thrilled. That's what I was thinking. In my head, I'm thinking this should work. Hearing about religion, maybe this will stop that feeling. Maybe that was the voice, and months later, I would learn it didn't. I was aware of something on the other side. I could see other people have it. I remember Leo saying, "Who needs God more, the person that is suffering the most or someone who is having it easy? If only people knew. I want to believe, but I couldn't quite break through the glass ceiling." Now, one huge problem is happening in my life. Since the time I heard the voice that told me to stop or I would die, things only got worse, exponentially worse. I had begun to consume substances like I'd never been before, to the point where I realized I actually was going to die if I didn't stop. I knew I was hurting people, yes, if watching it isn't bad enough, but I really, really don't want to die. And this I knew for sure. I finally managed to quit and become what is known as a dry drunk. I would stop all use of substances with extreme dependence on calls to my family and some friends when the anxiety got too bad. I managed to keep this up for 3 weeks prior to going to rehab. So if you guys are like, "Hey, where have you been?" I've been in rehab. On the 4th day of my sobriety, I met up with someone who I met while voting for Bernie Sanders. He yeah, right? Go Bernie. Too bad it's not a choice anymore. He recommended a book called A Course in Miracles, which helped him get clean off of his addiction to prostitution. Someone heard Jesus' voice and wrote down what they heard. It had managed to heal him. He had been clean for 4 years, me 4 days. Maybe he was onto something. I read a page off the online book and fell asleep and said to heck with it. The next few weeks of sobriety were not fun at all. I told myself that if I used substances again, I would go to rehab and have to leave the country. Surely an ultimatum would work. And there came that day again that I would fall. I called my friends to say goodbye, and I called Lee, sitting back there. What's up, Lee? And Lee said he'd give me a ride to the airport, and I consented. I had a friend staying at my place. She would be arriving in a few weeks. But now I wouldn't be here. So I had 3 sets of keys. I gave one to Lee. The day before I left, I would send the other key to my friend so she would have one. And that night, I realized while returning to my apartment that I didn't have a set for myself. I had to pack still and meet Lee in the morning to catch a 9 o'clock plane, and here I was locked out. I called both Lee and the landlord, and they were both headed over. The landlord showed up first and let me in. I found my keys in the pocket of my jacket and called Lee to tell him not to come. Packing and having one last hurrah, I stayed up till 3 a.m. and slept, setting my alarm for 6:30. At 7 o'clock, Lee walks in through my door. He had been calling me outside, but I had slept through the calls. He had remembered my set of keys and drove home to get them. By the grace of God, I would make it to the airport. Upon arrival, we were going up an escalator and I had to vomit. Too much last day partying, and now I couldn't hold it down. We went to the bathroom. I unloaded and proceeded to security check. I had half a bottle of water in my bag, which Lee had given me, and they wouldn't allow that through. So I chugged it, threw the plastic bottle in the recycling bin, and threw up 3 more times in the trash can beside it. Collecting myself, I grabbed my bag and went through customs. A miracle that I was allowed to proceed and get on the plane. Someone was guiding me, and it didn't stop there. At rehab, I had a Christian roommate, and the two staffers were Ron and Harold that worked the night shifts were also Christian. I still didn't believe in God at the time, although I wanted to and talked like I did. But Harold saw me walking around with a Bible that Lee had given me, and I awoke in the early mornings, and we arranged to meet to discuss God. On the third day, Ron joined me and Harold and told me of a book that he had that I might be interested in. It's this book called A Course in Miracles. Someone heard Jesus speaking to them and wrote it down. I'm like, no way, this book won't leave me alone. So he asked me, do you want it? I'm like, okay, I'll have it. And in between meetings, I would go back to my room and read it. This was the key to unlocking the Bible for me and cleared up my understanding of Christianity, my prior misconceptions of God, and accelerated my healing. Now I can understand the Bible. I can actually understand it. It's amazing. The Holy Spirit and the separation between me and God. Now that I understood it conceptually and was willing to align my will with God's, the other missing piece was the fellowship. My discovery of God alone didn't take away these emotions I had that would hijack me from the moment. What I learned is that attending a meeting, working through personal problems of the past with a sponsor, and calling a person that is in recovery would somehow ease them. Though the thoughts were still there, they would lose their power over me. Some of you may have heard of the 12 steps. It's a road to recovery for alcoholics and addicts based on Christian principles. Many people like me had forgotten how to live of God, amidst trying to lead our lives ourselves. It was clear that I couldn't live in both worlds, so the choice to live in God's was an easy one. Living it and learning to do it daily was now the new challenge, an exciting one. Who am I if I wasn't who I was before? That is the hardest thing to let go of. And only someone in the same position as me could understand and coach me through the process. Last week, Alex said that if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. My lemonade looks like meetings, praying, and the fellowship with people in recovery when I'm not doing things with you, work, and my hobbies. I'm not cured from it. I've learned to live with it. Going to recovery-based meetings is something no one wants to sign up for. No one wants to be a member of AA or NA. But I assure you, it is a blessing to have in order to have what I have now. I'm not lacking anything, I'm complete. So long as I continue to do the work, God's work, that He needs of me, I can do anything. And that is my story. I am doing the 12 steps, and step 9 is making amends with people. I began the step just 2 days ago and was asked to speak by Alex today. Ironic. Let me say that this step for me is the most difficult. I can introspect and talk about what happened in the past in private, but to face possible backlashes from people that I've affected is the toughest thing that I've ever done. I have become stronger in the face of humility than ever before, and I am sorry for anyone I have hurt, disappointed, or let down on my path to recovery. Thank you.
Chris, I just want to say that I think it's truly, I'm just so grateful just having the opportunity to meet with you yesterday morning, and then to encourage you to share your story, and that you are before your Pearl family, and in doing so. And Pearl family, I think we've got to be truly thankful for one of our brother who would share so personally and so real and with us, and that he opened up his heart to us tonight. And I want to say that, and I pray that God does a work in you, and allowing you to be able to see His goodness in the face of trials and temptations, and that you be encouraged that, that there is God. God is on your side, and that